I call to order the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Aransas Pass, February 18, 2019 at 6 p.m. Let's all rise for the invocation and the pledge of allegiance.
Dear Father, thank you for this day, my Father. Thank you for the country that we live in, how blessed we are to live in the United States. On this President's Day, my Father, I pray for our leaders in the national level, state level, county level, and also for us in the city, my Father. We know we have a long ways to go in order to get Aransas Pass where it needs to be. We ask that you guide us, my Father, to make the right choices for our residents, for our city. I pray, Lord, that you give guidance to our city manager, his staff, and our mayor and the city council, my Father, that we unite as one to work toward the betterment of Aransas Pass. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we're going to go to presentations and proclamations, and we're going to do the recognition of Milagros Medina for the Municipal Court Clerk for completing Level 1 certification for the Municipal Court Clerk.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Today I'm very proud to be here to recognize Milagros. She goes by Millie. This certification, these are the qualifications. Being a court clerk, it's not being a cashier or a teller. Being a court clerk, it's a career, and there's certifications from level 1 to level 3, and so it's not the first time that Millie has been before you. She was recognized or presented as Court Clerk of the Year for the state of Texas, so now she's taking it a little step higher in getting her certification. So in order to qualify for a level 1 certification, a clerk must complete 40 hours of training, of education, and pass a 4-hour exam. Areas covered by the exam include an overview of the courts, ethics, authority, and duties, procedures before trial, trial process, post-trial procedures, state and city reports, traffic law, communications, and stress management and juveniles. The Texas Municipal Court Clerk Association, it's a nonprofit professional association of municipal and justice court clerks and administrators. And its purpose is to increase the proficiency of judicial administrators and clerical personnel through education and exchange of ideas. And this was founded back in 1972. This nonprofit organization is funded by grant from the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals to provide judicial and legal education for municipal judges, clerks, and prosecutors through monthly regional seminars or online. The Texas Municipal Court Association is an association composed of municipal judges, clerks, prosecutors, and court support personnel. It monitors legislation, attorney general opinions, and changes in case law to ensure that the 918 municipal courts in Texas remain up to date on the new laws. This is a letter from the president of the Texas Court Clerks Association, excuse me, and it reads, congratulations on recently passing level 1 of the Texas Court Clerks Certification Program. Our primary goal is to provide a source of quality judicial education. We hope to reflect distinct credit upon the judicial system by instilling pride in personal achievement and providing exemplary services and represent the desires of citizens. By achieving this level of certification, you have successfully increased your awareness and knowledge of how the judicial system functions in a municipal court environment for your city and throughout the state of Texas. Your effort, dedication, and energy in achieving this accomplishment are commendable. You will be enriched for this experience, and we wish you well in all your future endeavors. Great job. We are so proud of you. Sincerely, Lisa Howard. Do you want to join me, Mayor? This is the certification, and you want to read it? You want me to read it? It's a Municipal Court Clerk Certification Program. Be it known that Milagros Medina satisfactorily completed the prescribed course of study as required by the Municipal Court Clerk Certification, Certified Court Clerk Level 1. This certificate, duly signed, has been issued by the Board of Directors of Texas Court Clerks Association, Texas Municipal Courts Association, and Texas Municipal Courts Education Center in cooperation with the Texas State University of San Marcos. Signed the 23rd day of January 2019. Congratulations. I just want to say that Millie has been our backbone of the court, and now we have a new court clerk that is also very active, proactive, very energetic, fast learner, and so I feel that our court is run very efficiently, effectively, and professionally, and we are, we're big in customer service, respect. We give respect to everybody, and we give the best service that we can. And so I'm very proud of my court clerk, and also I like to recognize Matea. We're going to take a picture. But the mayor already went.
Mayor, this is a significant achievement. I believe there's only 200 people who are certified court clerks level 1 in the state of Texas.
Wow.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yes. Thank you, Millie, for all you do, dear.
Yes,
We
very
appreciate
much.
your determination and your goals and your purpose for being here. You serve the city well.
Yes, ma'am. So this is two of them, right? So we need how many more? How many more certifications?
Two more.
You're doing awesome.
So we'll
Thank
see you
very
next
much.
council meeting?
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, now we go to the consent agenda. All the following items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the January 22nd, 2019 and February 4, 2019 minutes.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Now we go to public hearings, and I open the public hearing on the proposal rezoning of lot 1, block 1, 777 subdivision from AGB general business to a MH manufactured home district.
Mr. Mayor, Council members, Miguel Saldaña, interim city planner for City of Aransas Pass. The public hearing you have before you is a request by Mark and Geraldine Marlowe to rezone their property from general business to MH, Manufactured Home District, in order to develop the property with an RV park. The property is located along Avenue A, right just north of the Public Works yard, and they're looking at developing that with an RV park. The concern we had as staff and as previous councils have mentioned is allowing RV parks at the entrances of the city. So with that, the staff wasn't recommending the change of zoning to the manufactured home. We had some discussion at the Planning Commission, and during that hearing, the applicant agreed or volunteered to not rezone the front 300 feet of the tract of land, leave it as general business, and continue with the manufactured home district, RV park, in the rear portion of that property. That would leave the front facing Avenue A, which is also visible from State Highway 35, open for development for commercial or whatever we could do, which would be in line with previous city council intentions for those entrances to the city. So on that, the Planning Commission and staff are recommending that the property be rezoned from an MH, from a GB, General Business District, to an MH, Mobile Manufactured Home District, for the purposes of building an RV park, with the exception of the front 300 feet of this property. On your packet, you will find a proposed layout which leaves the front part for business. The developer's going to put some offices up front. One of his offices will be the office to the RV park. The other, and then the remaining back portion. This is the lot one that you see on the screen is the one that's going to be rezoned, with the exception of the front 300 feet. Then the remaining portion will remain and as you can see right there, the front portion will be general commercial uses, offices, which primarily what he's going to do. Some may be retail. And then this would be a good transition from the Public Works yard that has all those equipment back there to the north, where there's lot 2, which could develop with hotels or apartments, and this would be a good transition between the industrial Public Works yard and something other than that. As stated before, Planning Commission and staff recommends approval of the rezoning with the exception of the front 300 feet of this lot. Any questions?
I do. Wouldn't you have to replat the entire property? Because I
No.
didn't think you could have two different zonings on one piece of property.
The only time you have to replat is if you have multiple owners. If they decided in the future to sell the general business tract or the RV park to a different entity, then yes, they would have to replat. But you can have multiple zonings on the same tract of land.
My concern is also on here is the traffic.
I'm
I
sorry?
mean, the traffic that's going on that bypass 35 and right in that, have they studied as far as the traffic? Because that is a very dangerous intersection with big RVs going in and out at
Well,
that particular place.
Most of the traffic will be going in and out of Avenue A. They will not have direct access to 35. They'll have to travel out either north or south to be able to get to I-35.
And let
Most
me
of
add
the-
that there is another RV park on the south side
Backside.
of the city.
East side.
Right.
East side. East side?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
there's one south,
Right, and
of
it's
the-
set back, how far do you think that one's set back from the Avenue A?
I think another 300 to 400 feet.
Okay, and that one's very nice back there, and they've got, I don't
Yeah,
know how
and
many slips are in there or spots are in there, but it's a very nice RV park, you wouldn't even know it was there.
That's
Yeah,
one
It's
behind-
set
That's the
back.
one, that's the one
That's
south
one
of the
right behind
Public
Sweet
Works
Bay.
yard.
Yeah, right behind Sweet Bay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's one just south of the Public Works yard,
correct,
and then there's one on the other side of 35, just,
right, Southern Oaks,
yeah, southern.
correct, correct,
So there's those two.
right.
But, you know, the problem is there are no good RV parks in Aransas Pass, and they're trying to get something that's.
There's some,
Well,
we
I
have some
think
pretty good
Southern
RV
Oaks-
parks, wait a minute. I have to differ with that.
I agree
But
with
if they
that.
want to bring in something even
Yeah.
better than what we already have,
And
that
the
sounds
park
great
They have
to
a
me.
platform over there. They'll double
This
up.
is true. I
Yeah.
retract that statement.
Very good, yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay.
And
I have a question also. You said Avenue A. You know, that is if you're turning from 35, you know, Wheeler, turning into Avenue A, that is not a good intersection right there because you have 18-wheelers. You've got everything, every type of vehicle turning to go to Business 35 from there. And if you've been there, I know the chief told me not to go to that restaurant anymore, and I haven't. What?
Whoa.
What? Anyway, because you know,
That
you're
was
sitting right there and traffic that's coming from that Business 35 right there and is trying to come into Aransas Pass, you have 18-wheelers that they have to back up in order for that 18-wheeler to turn right on that road. And so that's another concern. They use that road, yes. That is going to add even more to that congestion right there. I think it's something that we need to look at.
that
It's-
intersection right there,
was badly
Uh,
designed.
a year and a half ago, there was a restriction that
Right.
nobody listens to from 18-wheelers making a right turn onto Avenue A.
Apparently,
But
we
that
would make a
hasn't been
killing.
stopped. And I thought there was a sign, because
There is a
re-
sign, but it doesn't
really,
matter.
there is a sign, but you have to look for it.
You have to be on
And-
the street to see the sign. We're still waiting for the signage to be on the traffic signals so that them coming this way, they can see it on the sign, no trucks to the left, and they don't turn in the first place.
Turn left or right if they're.
And I
onto
told
it.
you not to go to the thing so you wouldn't see those violations. Just to clarify.
Yeah,
Okay. How far is it from where that basketball thing is at? That basketball pavilion that's right there?
That's part of it.
That's
That's
part
part
of
of
it.
it.
That'll
Yeah.
be
So it's
part
just
of it.
right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I thought.
that'll be
Just
one
make
of
sure.
they're gonna turn it into an amenity, as you can see, if you can get the
but the
site plan
traffic
back
on
up.
Avenue A is separated from the traffic on Business 35
Yes.
or the bypass 35.
Yes.
So it's not as busy on Avenue A as it is the 80 miles an hour coming past Allen
Yeah,
Samuels,
but-
so.
Like Ms. Abrego said, turning into Avenue A coming in from Wheeler does get, and hopefully after people get used to getting to this RV park, they won't be taking Wheeler, they'll be coming down to just past, Aransas Pass Autoplex
Right. Allen Samuels,
or Allen
No.
Samuels. Yes.
whichever one's.
Miguel, I got a question for you.
Okay.
The roadway that should be between that property and Public Works, is that gonna be completed out because of this project, or will there be an inlet completed out?
That is a good question. When this property was platted, I don't know if any requirements were made. Typically, when this happens, when a property is platted abutting a right-of-way, the abutting property that's being platted is responsible for half of the roadway, and then the abutting on the other side is responsible for the other half. But I don't know if that requirement was made when this property was platted. I saw a couple of things that were not done to this plat when it was platted, but it's done,
I
it's
think that
recorded.
for the purposes of emergency crews fast in and out would be a good thing, because we had the flooding too on that other RV park that almost washed out their entire road. And they would have had a problem, one. Two, when that side of town caught on fire and the fire was spreading, we had to get people to vacate that area. It creates a cluster if they're all trying to go out one in point, exit point. I think that we need to really make sure that egress and ingress is sufficient for something of this size.
Oh, and that's one thing we're gonna have to look at when they come in for the development, is because the way they show it right now, there's only one egress point, and that's not enough.
sufficient, no.
For this amount, they're gonna have to provide a second entrance, and that's when the issue's gonna come up. Okay, who's gonna build the road?
That's gonna be
Because they
a
weren't-
huge project.
They weren't required, they were made, to my knowledge, a requirement for them to develop half of Lenora Street was not made. I don't know, I have to
But
double
for
check.
public safety, I think it's something that needs to be, right?
For public safety, that'll be something that'll have to be done. Now, you know, who's gonna do it and how much is it gonna cost them?
Well, maybe we
Any other
should table it
questions?
until they have a new,
Good.
maybe we should table this until we have a new,
Answers for these questions.
yeah,
Joey?
So wait, are these people, are y'all with this group?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Well, we've got,
No,
Yeah.
thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Mark Marlowe. I'm here speaking on behalf of my father, who could not make it tonight. He underwent a surgery this week, so my brother Kyle and myself are here to try to answer any questions you guys have. So, as far as a second exit onto the road, I mean, we wouldn't have a problem. It looks like there's, area around the pavilion to possibly add one, or if that's a concern, that could be changed, if that's something that's coming up. On to
Lenore?
Street.
So does is Lenore go through already?
Well, it's
No.
there, but it's not a street. I mean, it's not finished. It's not-
But there is you can drive cars down it.
You could. Oh, it's sand at this point? It's not developed at all. Yeah, there's nothing.
Exactly, that's what I
Yeah,
thought.
I didn't know if it was base. I didn't know if it was base.
Lenore and Myrtle in it, but Myrtle's way on the other side. I don't know.
there's a street
Well, yeah, so
Street-based
that's,
storages,
I
and
think
that's
that's the issue at hand right now, correct? Is that with a facility this large and that many, people and, RVs, you're gonna have minimum of two entrance and exit points.
So the way it's described right now, did y'all say that the occupant that is replatting it and then the other occupant, which is the city, is that what you typically would split the road?
that's, just,
That's how that would be handled. Typically, that would be handled. I don't know if that a road is in the budget at this point, but, any help from the city would be wonderful at this point, getting that going. I'm not sure. I'd have to talk to my father about that. But,
Right.
so you're saying there's no way to do it otherwise?
this is my opinion, I feel like we have too many unanswered questions that I would like answered before I could vote to proceed with this.
We're just trying to get it rezoned. Yeah, at this point, it's purely a rezoning for
Well,
the park.
even that right there, for me.
This is a public comment section.
Right.
Public comments, and then on
Yeah.
the next item, you can discuss on the action of the council.
Okay.
Yeah, we're really
Right,
here asking the
right.
members to follow the recommendation of
Yes.
the review committee last week.
I like your idea. I think it's a great idea, but yes, I understand.
Well, this is the first time this question's been posed, so.
Exactly.
We're open, we're open for
Exactly.
conversation on it.
We don't have a checkbook.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We don't wanna go volunteer my desk.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So,
I totally get it.
So the concept of the park, and I don't know, like you said, this may not be the time to propose it, but it's a first-class, top-notch park, you know what I mean? We're not building just an RV park, it's more of a destination, water slides, splash pad, pool, covered tennis courts, it's a several $1 million project, that we think would help out the community. We've lived here for 20 years. My parents have lived here for many years at this point. And we've seen Aransas Pass come up and down, and we really think this would be a great thing. I mean, we go to Port Aransas right now because there's not one here, or Rockport because there's not one here. You know, we want to bring it back to, you know, Aransas Pass. You know, we want to make something that's not currently available here. So,
Mayor and
So-
council, if the city is being asked at some point, thought I heard a reference to that, to help with the cost of Lenora, for example, that could be difficult because that could be somewhat expensive. We don't know the details yet. Plus, it's got to meet city specs and those types of things.
sure.
But that's something, there may be some options for us also we could talk about. But that certainly will be an issue for us, any cost. Because as I heard, the city or you or share or whatever, we would need to talk about that in more detail.
So if you look at the drawing here, there is the entrance, of course, that right where it says Lot 1 that comes in the middle, and then above it, it looks like that adjoining road exits out as well. So if you look, they're both on the front side, but there are two exit points.
Where's the other exit point?
So there'd be this one here, and then this one here. There's one between the two. There's one right between the two, and the one that.
I'm looking at the picture.
There's a little bigger one here. They're both facing the front, but there are two.
Yeah.
And this, forgive us, because this was just redrawn last week with the new 300-foot section added to it.
Oh, I see. Right in the middle, it says new entrance exit. I guess what's throwing me is the solid line that's there. And then in the middle, it says new entrance exit. So there is two. Okay, so you've got this one, and you've got this one. Yeah, that was throwing me because it's not an open. You got a line instead of it being open. Thought it was
Us
closed.
two. Like I said, we just
Okay.
got these not long ago, so we didn't have a lot of time to review them ourselves after we agreed to do the redraw.
Okay. So, Miguel, do you see this? So after he pointed that out, so there are two entrance and exit points. So that does make a difference, correct?
That makes a little bit of difference, but, you know, it's still like some.
Something-
Something off of Lenore Street,
Lenore.
going off the Lenore.
The thing about it is, which I hate to say, but I'm gonna say it anyway, is limit how many they develop until Lenora, either they provide an emergency access, which will be a 20-foot paved section out to that entrance that's only used as an emergency, and it can be a 20-foot. If they want to use it as a in and out, then it'd have to be a minimum of 24. But that would be on their portion. That would be part of their development cost, because as city manager says, trying to get the city to, and it would just be a rural paved road. It wouldn't be a full street construction, which means curb, gutters, sidewalks, all that. So that may reduce the cost of providing that.
Correct.
We were just talking over here a second ago, and is it possible to phase those in possibly? In other words, the part in the back?
Yes.
Okay, that may be a route to go. Yeah. That way, it wouldn't have to be addressed
Bill costs
immediately,
down,
because
yeah.
your two front ones seem to cover it.
May I make a comment? I'm
Yes.
Carol Salinas. I am a member of the Planning and Zoning. I just want to make a comment. A lot of your concerns were mentioned at the meeting. I mentioned a lot of them myself, but all that was presented that night, all that is presented tonight is rezoning. The design, the entrance exits, there are things on there, the size of the parking pads are not according to our current ordinance. There's several things that need to be revised. They've expressed that they would be willing to discuss all of that, but all that's being presented is just the rezoning of this particular district.
Okay.
Thank you.
I get it. Yeah.
We don't have our engineer with us. Last night he came, he was able to explain a lot of this that we don't know firsthand. We had our engineer.
But I think Carol qualified our concerns that we're only voting tonight on the
Yes.
rezoning.
So do we need to, okay.
What Ms. Salinas indicated was, yeah, there were some issues that they brought up on the site plan. What you're seeing is a conceptual plan. When they come in, they're going to have to come in with a site plan that is in
With all the
compliance
actions in the
with the ordinance, that's gonna have to be reviewed by the planning commission to make sure that it meets all the requirements. That's the way the ordinance is written, so the site plan will have to be resubmitted. This is just the conceptual, so they can get the rezoning, and then they can come in and go to the site plan review process.
Then we can say we did another exit, we did another street.
So,
Mayor and city council members, if you could just check to see if there are any other public comments available. And then as your city attorney, I do want to encourage that if this is passed, that there be close review by the police and especially the fire department. There's a long line of slips in this drawing that concerns me with the limited number of entrances and exits. And I don't know if you've ever seen an RV or mobile home go up in flames, but it goes fast. And so I've seen that myself in one of my other cities, and some really concerned about the safety issues that the chief mentioned.
But tonight, we are only
Rezoning.
voting on the
Rezoning.
rezoning of this property. And then they have to come back with their actual drawings before we accept anything else, before they can put a shovel in the dirt.
That is legally correct, and then the mayor just needs to make sure that there are no other public comments to be made.
Okay. Any other public comments? Okay, now, I declare this public hearing closed. Okay, now we go,
Don't we have to make a motion?
yeah, yes.
The next agenda item.
So, yeah, the next agenda, you're right, you're right.
okay.
Yep.
What's the
Yes,
favor?
Mayor, you close the public hearing, you can now go on to the next agenda item, which is the same subject, and it's now for consideration and action.
Consider and act on ordinance number 2019-4231, approving the rezoning of a portion of Lot 1, Block 1, 777 subdivision, San Patricio County, Texas, from GB General Business District to a MH Manufactured Home District.
Just to clarify, this is general language, if you want to, the exceptions should be made in the motion language. Thank you.
Well, I make a motion that we approve the rezoning of portion of Lot 1, Block 1, 777 subdivision, San Patricio, Texas, from general business to MH Manufactured Home District. With the
300
exception
foot
of the
stay-
300 feet from Avenue A,
The
To
front
the
portion of it.
front portion of the property,
So what's the front portion? Is that the north?
Avenue A,
That's
That
good.
would be the west
west,
300 feet of the property.
yeah,
Yes.
for the,
Yes.
yeah. With the exception of
Yeah.
300 feet at the west end of the property.
Okay, that'll go. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we're gonna open public hearing on proposed text amendments to the City of Aransas Pass zoning ordinance, Part 1, Section 10-200, Schedule of Uses, and Section 10-300- definition and explanation applicable to the use schedule to define and designate zoning regulations for home occupant and Connex box as an accessory structure, land use within the Aransas Pass zoning ordinance.
Mayor, City Council, what you have for you, in front of you, is text amendment on two items, the home occupation and the accessory structures. We're not ready to move forward with the home occupation, so we're not going to go forward. The reason it's on here is because it was published in the newspaper, so the hearing still has to be held, but we're not proposing any changes to the current home occupation regulations. As far as the accessory structure, using those shipping containers as accessory structures, there had been several requests to use them as accessory structures, especially right after the hurricane, and there was nothing in the ordinance that would permit them, which if you see them, they're pretty sturdy. So people wanted to use them as accessory structures. During the public hearing, the Planning Commission reviewed this and discussed this request, and I hope Ms. Salinas is here. She might be able to lighten you more than I can. But according to the Planning Commission, they agreed that it would be allowed as an accessory use, these shipping containers, in the industrial and the heavy commercial districts would be permitted by right. And only in the general business district, subject to a conditional use permit. They did not recommend them going in a residential district, which would be an eyesore, because those are more industrial type looking structures than a residential looking structure. So based on that, Planning Commission recommended approval of the text amendment to allow shipping containers as an accessory structure in heavy industrial, light industrial, and heavy commercial district by right, and in the general business district, subject to a conditional use permit. Thank you. Any questions?
I have a question on a specific piece of property, what it is, if it's in part of the industrial. If you go coming into the harbor, the old.
Staff and commercial?
Yes, yeah. What is that? Because they have a Connex box out there along with a lot of junk, and it looks horrible.
I apologize, Councilwoman,
okay.
but I do not know. I'll have to research it and find out.
Burl, do you know?
I don't know what you're talking about.
So it would be legal for them to have that Connex box on that piece of property if they get a variance?
Well, if it's zoned general business, then they're gonna have to come in and get a conditional use permit.
A conditional use, that's what I meant.
If they're zoned something different, I'll get the code enforcement out there. If it's zoned, well, either way, no matter what the zoning is, they have to get a permit if they're in the industrial or heavy commercial district. And if they're zoned general business, they'll have to come in, get a conditional use permit, and then they're gonna need to get a permit. Either way, because it's an accessory structure, they have to get permits.
And we are going to have them remove the Connex boxes that are already on their property if it's not part of this?
Yes, ma'am. They're gonna have to remove it because they're there illegally.
And is there a time frame? Will
Well,
they have a
we
time frame
we have to go, if they're in violation of the ordinance, we're gonna have to go out there, cite them,
Right,
and then we're gonna have to give them time to move it, and then we're gonna have to go through the process of getting it removed. So maybe a month, 2 months before.
okay.
Now, I have a question. If someone is applying for a conditional permit on this, do they have to have another structure? They're starting a business, and so they want to put one of these Connex boxes there to start their business, have no plans of building another building just to conduct business out of this. What is the,
Well, it's an accessory use. So
Okay.
that means that a
They have
main
to
use
have
has
an-
to be there before this can be an accessory. If this is the only thing that's there, then this is a main use. And this is a
So
main
they
structure.
can't use it, they can't set it up as an
Right,
office.
As an office or a main.
Right.
As a
Okay.
main use.
However,
There's
Oh,
always that.
boy.
However,
if you go to Padre Island, Island Joe's,
The coffee deal's made out of those. That
there's
coffee
a
shop.
nothing but shipping containers that he put together and made a restaurant out of it, coffee shop. So-
yeah, there's office complexes in Houston made only out of shipping containers that are very cool and very industrial looking,
Yes,
but that's, I understand what you're saying. We don't just want,
Yes,
Here we start again.
if they're going to,
Yeah.
if they're going to bring a shipping container and use it as an office, then they're gonna have to get a permit as an office, and they're gonna have to meet the requirements of what an office requires. Restrooms,
windows.
emergency
Window.
access, proper lighting,
Right.
proper insulation. So it's not just, we're gonna put it there and start operating.
Yeah, okay.
Now do we have a system to keep track of all these conditional use permits?
I'll have to research that, but we're gonna have to start something because I don't know if there is. So we're, you know,
Because it can
we're
turn
gonna
out
have
to
to
be
get
like,
something. in
maybe
the
like a
mind.
2-year turn out to be 10 years? That's
Yeah,
what,
yeah. Trust me, I know how that works. Yeah. Gotta keep an eye on them and see how they work. Any other questions?
Do we have any public comments? Anybody in the public wants to say a comment? Okay, now I declare this public hearing closed, and we go to consider an act on ordinance 2019-4232, amending the Aransas Pass zoning ordinance, Part 1, Section 10-300. Okay, anyway, definition and explanation to add subsections 11.1, shipping containers, accessory buildings, repelling all ordinances or part of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing a severability clause, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for penalties.
Can I ask one more question, or do we have to make a decision here? So my
Just like we did the one
question,
before.
I guess, would be to Miguel or Mrs. Salinas. And so considering this, why did y'all consider general business to be a part of it? Instead of just for the industrial uses? Because I'm certainly all in for Connex boxes used for storage sheds and da-da-da-da. We have one at our yard as well. But it's a very industrial yard.
Your general business districts, you have auto parts, you have other Walmarts, HEBs that
Oh.
need
Okay.
storage
That's true.
and need to be able to put
Yeah,
some.
see, I was just kind of thinking downtown.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, I get it. Okay, all right.
I have
All
a
right.
question, just thought of this after we had closed. Do we have requests? Or is it taking care of what's out there already?
I'm sorry, I don't,
So then we
I
don't-
came
we
in
don't know where
midway
this
through
comes
this, so
from.
Yeah.
I don't, that's why we pulled the home occupation, because the mayor, the city manager and I couldn't figure out why these were in there. There's nothing that I could find that would tell me why we're going through this. I can understand the shipping containers, and I could make an argument on those.
Mhm.
But on the proposed changes to the home occupation was beyond me. I couldn't understand
Okay.
why that was going on.
Why
I've
not?
never experienced that, so that's why I recommended that it be pulled.
Okay, sorry, I just had that one other question, but I'm ready if y'all are ready. All right.
Unfortunately, when you
Yeah.
throw in Walmart and all of that.
All right, well, I make a motion to approve the text amendment to allow the shipping containers as accessory structures in heavy industrial, light industrial, and general business districts, subject to conditional use permit.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I vote nay.
That was to include the heavy
Yeah, nay.
commercial also.
Okay, I thought I said that. Heavy industrial, light industrial. Heavy commercial, I see, it's two different things, okay. All right.
And when will this go into effect? When will this go into effect?
As soon as it's published in the newspaper,
Okay.
as far as I know. I mean, unless the attorney has something, or city secretary.
State law mandates that any penalty ordinance be published before enforcement. So after publication.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the best thing is that it gets them out of residential.
I agree with that, but I also think that, we shouldn't be discussing it. It's been
Oh.
voted on.
Okay.
We're done.
It's just like, okay,
It's already been voted on, said
all right,
yes.
it's done,
Okay.
thank you.
So now let's go to city manager.
Mr. Mayor and Council, the first item is dealing with City Hall, the Police Department, and the Fire Department. All three of those adjoining buildings leak like a sieve from the roof. We've been trying to get the roof repaired for, I think, a few centuries, it seems like. It's taken forever. We've been working with FEMA to consolidate all of the buildings, and that's what's taken such a long time. That is now ready to move forward. So what we are proposing to you is consideration for task order number 10, I believe it is, to design this rather complex work that's going to involve the roof on all three buildings, actually one building. And the price tag is there in the memo, somewhere down there. There it is. And L&B is here if you have any questions. I know they've been on the roof since last week, and also today, the people they have brought on board to work with us on this. But this is something that is desperately, direly needed here in City Hall. So that's what's before you.
And let's point out that it is FEMA reimbursable.
It is FEMA reimbursable up to 90%, yes, or 90%. We pick up 10%.
Correct.
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve task order number 10 to the contract with L&B Incorporated for City Hall, Fire, and Police Station roof replacement and repairs in the amount not to exceed $34,750.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor and Council, next item is a request for hot tax funds, hotel tax funds, and for $10,000 for the Rock the Dock Boat Show. The committee, which you set up not too long ago, was put into place to review and then make recommendations to you. That committee met last week, and the recommendation is to approve the Rock the Dock, have to be careful, boat show for 2019 for $10,000.
What was the amount given last year? Nothing last year, because it was after the,
There was funds that we had received before. We split it 3 ways. The year before that was $17,000.
yeah, sorry.
Anyway, Mike Moore, Redfish Bay Boathouse. The funds last year were split between the Vets Fishing with Vets, Rock the Dock, and the Bacon Fest.
Correct.
So we requested none. This year, knowing that we're growing back, all of our hotels aren't open yet, there's a lot to do going forward, we requested $10,000. The previous year,
was, 14,000. We've gone up to $20,000 7, 8 years ago to get it kicked off. So with what our city's position in mind on the events this year, we're keeping them all at the $10,000 range to get started back up again. And like Gary said, we met last week. We went over all the, as you have a copy, I'm sure, but we went over all the benefits also from these events, and the length and the distance, people coming from all over the state and renting rooms from us, staying at the hotels, going out to the restaurants. And many people in this room are very familiar with the restaurants, hotels, and what it is drawing into our community with over 55 rooms a couple years ago. Last year was a down year for everyone. So anyway, we did go over all the basics, and actually the money primarily funds the marketing to market our city throughout the state and the nation. And we go as far as San Antonio, Houston, Victoria. We cover all the Gulf Coast, and it brings people to our community, a lot of them.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the hot fund request from Rock the Dock Boat Show 2019 for $10,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Mr. Mayor and Council, last item in this section is a request, an additional request for hotel tax funds. Again, $10,000. This is for the from Spirit of Aransas Pass for hotel motel funds for vets fishing with vets. Again, for $10,000. The committee that referred to earlier also gave approval to this to recommend to you approval for the $10,000.
Well, I'll make a motion that we grant the request for vets fishing with vets for the amount of $10,000 from the hot funds.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Now we go to development services. Development services include the following: building services, parks, planning, public works, and maintenance. And there's the monthly building department report. Borough.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's going to sound like a broken record. This past month in January, we had 80 permits, and we're at 1.2 million, just holding steady. However, I do want to give you a little bit of information that I received today. I just received plans for the old Hawthorne Suites that's been closed since the storm. I got a stack of plans about that thick for Candlewood Suites. So that means they're going to be upgrading that hotel into a nicer hotel. So
Wow,
hopefully
nice.
the next year for Rock the Dock we'll have more rooms. So,
Wow, nice.
And we'll have a ladder truck.
and we'll have a ladder truck. That's right.
Thank goodness we can build.
And that ladder truck will help with growth.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Sure
Any
will.
questions?
Thank you very much, bro.
Yes, sir. Now we go to the finance.
Yes, I'm going to do that. Sandra is not here tonight, and there are some developments would like to bring to your attention related to the financing. Generally speaking, looking at the financial report in general, revenues didn't meet our projections for the month. However, expenditures were less than budgeted, so we came out ahead overall. I'd like to jump ahead to the various charts that you should have in front of you. We'll put on the screen also. In the case of revenues, budget versus actual, you'll see what's happening with the general fund there, with the budget revenues and then the actual revenues. Going down to the expenditures, just the under general fund, the expenditures are higher or the budget expenditures are the actual expenditures, I'm sorry, are less in the general fund than the budget expenditures, which is good. Under property tax collected, and let me see here. Yeah, I'm going to pass this along. This is an updated bit of information for you. This shows 2018 and 2019. I believe that's what I gave you. Also includes 2017 on property tax collected year to date. Under sales tax collected, we're doing something different.
You have two?
Under sales tax collected,
Papers?
Oh, I don't know. Is there two? No?
Okay.
Did you give us one for sales tax or just
I
property?
made it no, just that.
Oh,
just
okay.
property tax. That's all you have. That's different than
Okay,
than
okay.
what
That's the
we're
one
showing
on the
here.
screen.
Under sales tax collected, that's where there is a change I'd like to bring to your attention. 2 months in a row, we've been down on sales tax. We were anxiously awaiting the results of this report. Initially, we thought it was up, but we recalculated. It is down. 3 months in a row, that tends to indicate a trend. That tends to portend what could be coming as far as sales tax goes, which is not a good thing. On the other hand, Sandra and I had a powwow, and we thought, well, maybe we're doing this incorrectly. We are comparing what's coming in this year to what came in last year. And last year is an anomaly for obvious reasons. Everybody was buying huge amounts of materials and McCoys and Lowe's, et cetera, and that's not the real picture. So we said, we really should be comparing to 2017 prior to the hurricane. That's going to be a more accurate gauge. When you do that, we are up. So from this point, we're going to continue to show 18, just so you see what happened in that anomaly year.
Okay.
But we're going to compare to 19 to 17, which is a more accurate measurement. So sales tax, taking that gauge, is up, and we don't think we're cooking the books by doing that. That's a more accurate way to look at it, we believe. So just want to bring that new approach we'll be using from this point on to your attention.
That's good, because I've been harassing Sandra.
And I believe that's it. Just wanted to bring that item to your attention.
Thank you.
All right.
Now we're gonna go to public safety, Mr. Garrett.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Starting off, the first item is the monthly report. No major highlights there. The report will publish online. In fact, it just popped up right there. You can see it on the screen, so everybody can see that now publicly. We did have one bad feedback, and I'll speak about the bad as much as I will the good. The lady was not happy with the service she received. She reached out to us on Facebook. She didn't like me responding to her on Facebook. But she was very happy with the follow-up she got. She was very happy with the investigator. She just was not happy with me or some of the other officers or staff involved. But overall, she was happy. The burglary was solved and everything was resolved. So I don't know what we could have done differently on that.
Next time.
Do what?
Try Twitter next time.
Maybe, it works for the president.
Read it up.
That's all I have for the monthly update, unless there are questions about that update.
All right, great. Thank you.
Next update is the annual update. Hold on to your britches. This one's long.
Oh, jeez.
No, I'm kidding. I won't bore you with all the information. It also should be published now online. It should have published around the same time as the other one. If you're looking at stats and graphs, I stole it from Sandy. I love her graphs, so I had to incorporate a lot of graphs for you. This report is full of graphs to make it easier for you to understand if you want to take time and look at it. Overall, the UCR is showing that our crime overall, Part 1 crimes, which are the worst to deal with, are down again, I think, third or fourth year in a row on Part 1 crimes, which is great. If you look at our PD training, we are heavy on training, and our training coordinator's here this evening, Lynn. Training is up remarkably this year, and you'll see that on a graph as well to compare. And finally, Every year, I require that we do a in-depth review of all use of force. So the patrol captain's responsible with reviewing probably for the fourth time around, because every time an officer uses force, there are at least 2 levels of review that use of force goes through. So the captain does it for the third, maybe in some instances the fourth time, and then we pull information out of that. It's a nice little report if you want to read it, but there were no issues with use of force, and we only try to use it really to fix issues or to do better in the future. The last report that's attached after that use of force report is the Tri-County EMS report, and it's a visual graphic as well, and Steve's here. But that also shows how we dominate calls related to that. On a side note, today I also released a report. You guys may recall a while back, a few years back, you approved a body cam study. We opened up our entire video camera evidence vault to Texas A&M, to researchers that went in there. They met all our background requirements. They reviewed at random over 600 of our videos, because at the time we were one of like 8 agencies in the nation to have the amount of video that we had on body cams. We're early adopters of the body cam program. We got a good, clean bill of health. It's a very good report if you want to read it. It's very long, but I think that it's very redeeming and reassuring to our community to know that the majority of our contacts end favorably and on a positive level with nothing more than conversation. And as some naysayers may tell you, that they call us highway pirates and other things like that, trying to make revenue for the city, that in no way, shape, or form can be illustrated by that report. So I would encourage you to take a moment and review that report. And again, it goes in the direction of transparency and accountability, because that's what we owe you, our community that we serve. That's all I have for you, Council.
Great.
Thank you.
Now we go to City Council or staff announcement.
Fire. No, look, Nate's over there tearing up over there.
I'll sum his up real quick.
Okay.
They're getting a ladder truck. Thank you, Chief. You can have a seat now.
I'm good. So, last month, we did do 50 calls even. 5 of those being fires. And we're kind of seeing a little trend in the fires coming up. We've had a structure fire the other day. I'm trying to figure that stuff out. And then our inspections, we were a total of 26 inspections. Now that the assistant chief is back, our inspection program is picking back up, which is really good. It's a good thing for the city. And then training hours, we did 113 and a half hours, personnel hours just last month. And the new brush truck that we've been working on is about 90% complete, and hopefully we'll be doing a push-in ceremony for that soon, within the next couple of weeks. And we want to make kind of a big deal out of it. It's a really nice truck. We're going to full thing this year.
Excellent, excellent, excellent.
Good job.
All good?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we go to City Council or staff announcements. And we have a workshop meeting on February 25th, 2019.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. And we're still working on the agenda for that. Right now, we have 1 item, but I anticipate approximately 2 more. I'll get back with you as far as how that's evolving. The other issue is we had a second citywide cleanup this weekend. Like the first one, it was very successful. Like the first one, it was filled up, the dumpsters were filled up before noon. We had lines of people throughout the morning and had good support from the fire department, police department, and public works also. And anticipate we probably will be doing more. And also want to point out that Absolute has been very helpful to us on this. And in the area of cost and the area of cooperation. and the citizens certainly are taking advantage of it. Consequently, I anticipate we will make use of this in the future, in the very near future. But it was, bottom line, it was very successful.
Good,
Yeah.
thank you.
Now, the workshop's still at 5:30? Is that the time?
That was a, thank you, that's a good question. Billy, can you make a 5:30 workshop, workshop?
Oh, I'll be here within a few minutes, probably.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's go for 5:30 then, if that's okay with everyone. Okay. That's all we have on that?
Now we go to citizen comments. Citizen comments are intended for the matter that are not scheduled on the agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes and state your name and address for the record. Be advised that the Texas Open Meeting Act prohibits the city council from responding and discussing your comments. The law authorizes the following: make a statement of factual information, recite existing policies, advise that this subject may be placed on the agenda for the subsequent meeting.
Steve Knight, Tri-County EMS. As some of you may have heard, I announced my retirement. I started back in 1994 with Tri-County, and it's been just a wonderful journey. You know, I've dreamed of being a paramedic since I was a child, and to be able to be a paramedic in my hometown just was over the top. And I'd like to thank all of you for your support, all of the staff, and most of all the citizens for the support of me and Tri-County EMS over the years, and I thank y'all.
We wish you only the
we
best.
thank you.
Thank you.
That's a lot.
Mayor and council, I make a motion that we deny his request to retire.
Sorry, Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
Mama says
Okay,
stop.
Howard Gillespie, County Commissioner, San Patricio County, Precinct 4. I gave you all some information at the beginning of the meeting. One was an article from the County Judges and Commissioners Association of Texas, painted into a corner. About the last third of the first paragraph, there's a statement that says, by requiring that local districts maintain the maximum tax rate, the legislature has been forcing an increase in local school taxes through appraisal creep. For the past 10 years, appraisal values have averaged an increase of 7% per year. As these local taxes increase, the state share of school funding has reduced from 48% to 36%. This has allowed the legislature to avoid any increase in state taxes, but the result has been rapidly escalating school property tax. Now, if you jump down to the last paragraph, about the second sentence in, it says, while Texas ranks 33rd in overall state and local taxation, we rank 6th in real estate property taxes. Legislatures are still attempting to shift the blame to county and city officials, but there is at least some momentum towards rebalancing the school funding formula, but you don't hear about as much about that as you do Senator Betancourt's Senate Bill 2 that wants to limit us to 2.5% increase a year without going to the voters for more. So anyway, I'd like to urge your legislators to grant real property tax relief through unfunded mandate protection. Some of you know, I don't know, but unfunded mandates or partially funded mandates, some of the things are indigent health care. Your county commissioner's court has to pay out anywhere from $5,000 to $30,000 a week on indigent health care. We also have, there are more mental illness cases in county jails than there are in state hospitals. And we also have to pay for indigent defense funds. I think that's an underfunded mandate. But so we have to provide lawyers for the bad guys who don't have money for their own lawyer. So and we're trying to put a stop to that. The second thing I gave you was also from the same association. And this was via email and regular mail to Senator Betancourt about SB 2. And they gave him some recommendations to consider as part of Senate Bill 2 if they want to make the changes. The first one is to link this act to public school finance reform, increasing the state's share to 50%. 2, include homeowners' property tax protection. 3, recognize the effect of unfunded mandates on local property taxes. There is, and I can't remember the senator's name, there is one senator, one state senator, who wants to end unfunded and partially underfunded mandates, but he's kind of almost alone up there. I think there's only one or two of them. 4, recognize the effect of uncontrollable cost increases. 5, schedule elections in even-numbered years. 6, provide counties with local option sales tax. And 7, correct the equal and uniform appraisal loophole and undervaluation of commercial properties. You know, we always have these problems with the county appraisal district where everybody goes out and protests their appraisals. And some of the appraisal district, in their defense, the comptroller's office oversees appraisal districts, not the county judge, not the commissioner's court. Basically, the comptroller will dictate what they want them to do, and so that's what they do, or else they have problems with the comptroller's office. So, and as you know, the biggest part of your tax bill is school property tax, okay? So, there's also this I've passed out around the room. Property taxes keep going up, deserve real relief. The bottom half of this are postcards, one to Governor Abbott and the other to Lieutenant Governor Patrick, you know, asking them to, you know, help out. So, you got to provide your own stamp, though. I couldn't afford stamps for everybody. Sorry. I have a budget, too. 50 cents. Anyway, that's all I have. If you have any questions, you know where I work. Some of you know where I live. So, anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Howard.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Evening, Mayor and Council. Chuck West, Harbor Master. I found out late this afternoon, I didn't even have a chance to let Gary know that John Lumpkin with Texas Highways has finished pestering us. He spent a couple of days here and had conversation with Mayor and Council Lady Moore, and I think Mike Moore as well. Anyway, he's coming out the 1st of June with a feature article in Texas Highways on Aransas Pass as the place to come for a weekend. So watch your magazines.
Thank
Chuck,
you.
Chuck, you want to mention the Lions Club? I don't think they're aware of that.
Money. You're familiar, I'm sure, with the Lions Club project, the grant request we wrote for some improvements down at the harbor. We have received official word that has been approved.
Awesome.
Tell us everything that it's going to include. Do you remember?
Everything that we asked for.
That's great. Awesome, thanks.
Thank you.
All of the above.
Anybody else? Okay, now we go into executive session, section 551.074, to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, which is the municipal court judge. The next one is section 551.071 of the Texas Open Meeting Act, to meet with his attorney to seek legal advice on a matter in which the duties of the attorney to the city council under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meeting Act relating to Brown Harbor Survey, Hal Jones Development, and the City of Aransas Pass versus J.M. Davidson LTD RLI Insurance Company and Naismith Engineering, cost number S-14-6278-CV-C in the 343rd Judicial District Court in San Patricio County, Texas. And we shall return at some point. Oh, the time is 7:14. open session at 8:06.
Make a motion, we adjourn this meeting.
A second.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.